Well, thank you very much for coming here today. Ladies and gentlemen, you may please take your seats. Welcome to the 27th Annual Hooding and Graduation Ceremony of the Appalachian School of Law. My name is David Western, and I have the privilege to serve as the President and Dean of the Appalachian School of Law. And I just want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon to recognize and to celebrate the accomplishments of the members of the class of 2026. As we formally begin our ceremony, I invite Jordy Breeding, who's the pastor of Van Sant Baptist Church, to the podium to give us our opening invocation. Pastor Breeding.
May we pray. Eternal and gracious God, source of all wisdom and justice, we gather today with hearts full of gratitude. We thank you for the dedication, the perseverance, and the sacrifice that has brought these graduates, the 2026 class of Appalachian School of Law, to this milestone. We pray your abundant blessings upon the graduating class of law students. You have endowed them with sharp minds, a passion for truth, and the courage to advocate for others. As they step forward to become counselors and advocates and leaders in our society, grant them the wisdom to seek equity, the integrity to uphold the rule of law, and the compassion to protect the most vulnerable among us. When the weight of their responsibilities feels heavy, remind them the noble purpose of their calling. Let them be instruments of peace and fairness and positive change in a world that so desperately needs it. We also ask you to bless their families, their friends, and the esteemed faculty and staff who have supported them on this rigorous journey. May they all share in the joy and pride of this day. Send your guiding light upon these graduates as they begin their careers. Keep them grounded in their values, firm in their pursuit of justice, and ever mindful of the impact that they can make. We ask this in your holy and gracious name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Breeding. This is truly a joyous occasion. Today, we celebrate the accomplishments of our students who will impact our beloved profession, and they will do it in a profound and meaningful way for years to come. We honor all of our graduates and applaud the results of the many years of hard work and intense study that they have done through their undergraduate work and here at the Appalachian School of Law. This graduation represents a defining moment, the culmination of a lifetime of accomplishments and a new beginning for the practice of law. The launch of these new careers in the profession is filled with limitless possibilities and promise and significant responsibilities. Commencement marks the traditional end of the academic program, but truly it's better understood as the beginning. After retiring from the military following nearly 30 years of military service, I can tell you that certain lessons never leave you. The Air Force core values became ingrained in my mind: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. They're not military values only. They are the values that every attorney should carry into the profession. Integrity. Never let your ego obscure your ethics. I once defended a client at Barksdale Air Force Base where the assigned prosecutor had previously received confidential information from my client during another matter. I approached the young JAG and privately explained that continuing to prosecute the case created a serious conflict of interest and risked compromising privileged communications. But he refused to step aside. He wanted another trial in his record. He wanted another conviction. He wanted another notch in his belt. So I had to raise the issue before a military judge. What followed only compounded the problem. The prosecutor's co-counsel stood to defend him, but in so doing revealed that he too had been exposed to confidential information that was protected. I now had no choice but to challenge him as well. Within minutes, both attorneys were removed from the case. As the prosecutor walked past my desk, he whispered bitterly, "Your plea bargain is gone." I then had to object again, this time for prosecutorial misconduct. All of this could have been avoided if one lawyer had remembered that our profession is not about winning at all costs. It's about integrity. Your reputation as an attorney will take years to build and moments to destroy. Guard it carefully. Service before self. Now, I know many of you have heard this story before because I have repeated it on a number of different occasions, but I felt it important to repeat it again. During the flood of 2025, I spent hours in the basement of the law school trying to keep water from reaching our power systems. Mud covered the floors, water filled the halls. It was exhausting and discouraging work. A local member of the community arrived with a hand pump and helped us clear enough water to restore the sump pumps and prevent even greater damage. When it was finally over, I walked outside physically exhausted and emotionally drained. And as I stepped away from the building, I saw several students approaching campus carrying shovels and rakes, dressed in work clothes and already covered in mud. One of them looked at me and said simply, "Dean, where do you need us?" That moment has stayed with me because that is who you are. You're not merely law students, you're servants, volunteers, leaders willing to step forward when things are difficult, people willing to help without being asked, without recognition, and without reward. That spirit matters far more than any grade, any resume line, or any title. And now I ask something of each and every one of you as alumni. May 15th is Giving Day. On the back of your program, there's a QR code. I hope you will support the Appalachian School of Law and continue investing in our institution's mission of service and opportunity. But more than that, I want to acquire a new story to tell. I want to stand here years from now and say this: the class of 2026 showed up. The class of 2026 gave back. The class of 2026 became the most generous graduating class in the history of the Appalachian School of Law. Help me tell that story. Excellence in all we do. In a few short months, many of you will sit for the bar examination. This past February, our graduates achieved 100% first-time bar passage rate in many jurisdictions. That's pretty amazing. We, as a school, have never achieved 100% first-time bar passage rate for the July bar exam for all of our students, and it's a possibility. So let me say this plainly. Make history. Be the class remembered in the halls of ASL for generations to come. Be the class future students point to as the standard. Be the class that proved excellence is not an inspiration, it is the expectation. Class of 2026, your commencement is not the finish line. It is your call to serve. It is your call to make a difference. And students, you've been taught the discipline of learning the law. And let me tell you, that discipline must be engaged on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis for the rest of your professional career. That is what is before you. This is your commencement, your new beginning. Now I want to introduce to everyone here some of the very special folks that we have with us. I'm pleased to welcome here our deans, faculty, staff, and special guests who are joining us on the platform today. Particularly, I wanted to welcome the Honorable Matthew L. Harvey, United States Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia and a 2004 graduate of ASL. Thank you for being here today. It's right behind you. And I'm thrilled that in our front row we have some distinguished guests. The Board of Trustees is comprised of dedicated volunteers who provide advice to the administration and serve as the policy-making board for the law school. Today we have several trustees with us, and I am so happy you're here to share this day with us. Would the members of the Board of Trustees please stand and remain standing for a moment to be recognized? Thank you. You may be seated. The Appalachian School of Law has been well served by hordes of groups of hardworking volunteers as well. These include the officers and board of directors of the ASL Alumni Association, and so I ask that the representatives of that group, that they will stand. You will also hear from, please stand, the representatives from our Alumni Association that may be here. I know that we have a few in the crowd as well. You will hear from Matt Felty shortly, but I just wanted you to be very proud of these individuals and what they do for our school. We're also very happy to be joined by our law school faculty sitting behind the students. These men and women are directly responsible for the agony, the pain, and frankly, the torture your loved ones have experienced during their tenure with us. They represent hundreds of years of experience and legal wisdom. If you wonder why your students suddenly started speaking a foreign language called legalese, well, blame them. They're the ones that brought fun conversations to your Thanksgivings, your Christmases, and the like. Well, faculty, you are the lifeblood of this school. You are dedicated teachers of the law, but more than that, you are mentors to a new generation of citizen lawyers who we hope and pray will dedicate their professional lives to the advancement of a single and noble idea, the just and fair application of the rule of law to all persons, no matter their circumstances and no matter how popular or unpopular their cause may seem to some. Graduates, your professors have done their absolute best to prepare you for personal and professional success. They are just as excited to be here with you today as you are. You are the culmination of many hours with the teaching, the mentoring, and the guidance. So it's an honor to have them all here today with you and to join in this celebration. So class of 2026, will you please join me in recognizing the efforts of our faculty as they stand? Please stand, our faculty members. They are among, thank you. They are among the hardest working and most talented educators in the country. I'd now like to ask members of the law school staff, whether on stage or in the audience, to please stand and be acknowledged at this time. We have a number of them all over the place that are helping out behind the scenes. One of the most beautiful things about Appalachian School of Law is that our law school is a family, and our staff provides endless support and encouragement in so many different ways. It takes a team effort to prepare the next generation of ASL attorneys, and it also is a team effort to help you prepare for those challenges and opportunities that you will face in your practice. Staff, thank you for all you do each and every day. I do want to give a particular shout out to the efforts of Ms. Patty Street, Sandra Baker, Glenna Owens, Gina Sauls, Brian Presley, Billy Stiltner, Mandy Scarberry, Amanda Davis, and many, many others for their efforts in putting this event together in honor of the class of 2026. Now, I'm sure, please, let's give them a round of applause. Now, I'm speaking directly to my students sitting right in front of me. I know there are many people here, whether they be family members or other graduates or friends, that have helped you obtain your goal of becoming attorney and counselors at law. So at this time, I'd like to ask the class of 2026 to stand up, if you may, at this time. Now, I just want to point something out. Notice I didn't ask everyone to applaud you, but they did. That's the encouragement and the wonderful support that you've had over these years. But there's another reason I asked them to stand, and that's because if you look around this room, you're going to see parents, spouses, children, siblings, extended family members, friends, all the people that have encouraged you and helped you make this journey a success. So at this time, I'd like you to clap for them for the support that they've given you over the years. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Thank you. ASL is a school that is proud to serve the military and veteran communities. I know that from personal experience. And each year we are privileged to have members of ASL community who desire to serve in various capacities, whether it be lawyers in the JAG Corps or various branches of the armed services. And other members of the class are serving right now, either on active duty, reserve duty, or have done so through law school. Many others in our community are veterans, and many of them are battle-tested. Some of them in our community are spouses of veterans and family members of the brave men and women of our country. I just first of all want to say thank you for your service. And at this time, I'd like to ask that those graduates who have served or are planning to serve in the United States Armed Forces to please stand and remain standing for recognition. If I could have all those graduates that have served. Now, if I could have you remain standing, I'd like all active duty service members or veterans in this audience to please stand as well. Anybody that served in the military in any capacity, if you could stand and join, and thank you, join in solidarity. Look at this crowd. Join in solidarity with these students. Thank you for your sacrifices. Thank you for your sacrifices to our great country. Thank you for joining. You may be seated. Well, there we have a lot of wonderful celebration to do today, and to continue this celebration, I'd like to invite to the podium our Professor Thomas R. Scott, Jr. to present a special award. So, Professor Scott, if I could invite you to the stage. As many of you know, if you haven't been a student, Professor Scott has been practicing law for more than 50 years. If anybody knows how to serve on a trial, go through the discovery process, the litigation process, it's Professor Scott, and he's going to present a special award at this time. Professor Scott?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Scott, and I've had the pleasure of teaching trial advocacy and evidence and other subjects at the Appalachian School of Law for over 25 years now. Every year we give 2 awards in my trial advocacy class, and for those of you non-lawyers in our audience this afternoon, trial advocacy is a skills by participation class that teaches young law students how to try a case in real life. And they understand the importance of learning how to try a case while they're in law school, not the first time that they walk into the courtroom. We begin with understanding objections and how to make them and preserve them for purposes of appeal. We undergo skill sessions and opening statements, direct examination and cross-examination of witnesses, closing arguments, and also, not the least of which is jury selection and ethics, professional responsibility. So it's indeed my pleasure to present 2 awards this afternoon. The first award is awarded by the Virginia Trials Lawyers Association. It's the Best Advocate Award for the student who exemplifies trial advocacy and also plans to sit for the Virginia Bar Examination. So without further ado, I'd like to congratulate Santa Fida. Stand here just a minute, if you would. And then, without further ado, I'd also like to congratulate one other student for the Best Overall Trial Advocacy Award that I present on behalf of the school every year, Ms. Julia Lott Kahn. Congratulations. I know that you're wondering where the award is, and the check's in the mail. But I would be pleased to try a case with either of these ladies at any time, and I just pray to God that they're on my side. Thank you.
We're fortunate for a distinguished award with the Virginia State Bar Family Law Award. And so this time I'd like to have Professor Pebbles Burgess come to the stage to offer a unique award here. And just Professor Burgess has been teaching either family law practicum or family law for the past several years. And this is a special award to recognize some of those students that have excelled. We are one of the unique universities that actually has competitions that we compete each year in the family law arena. And much of our success is due to Professor Burgess. So, Professor Burgess, I turn this over to you.
Good afternoon. It is my honor to present the Family Law Section Award on behalf of the Virginia State Bar Family Law Section. This award has a clear purpose to recognize a graduating student who intends to bring her services home to practice family law in the great state of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Family law is not for the faint of heart. It asks lawyers to show up when people are at their most vulnerable, during divorce, during custody, during moments when families are being redefined, and to take on that burden with skill, compassion, and purpose is a great undertaking. Today's recipient has demonstrated that burden, that she can carry that burden as exactly that. As a graduating student at the Appalachian School of Law, she's excelled across the family law curriculum, not simply by performing well on paper, but engaging deeply with the substance and the human stakes of the practice area. She has also proven herself under pressure as a member of the moot court team for child welfare. That's a competition that demonstrates not only a sharp legal argument, but the ability to advocate for children and families in the most consequential circumstances imaginable. And I apologize to her that this is not a karaoke stage, but I would love to present this award to Miss Laura Shine.
Thank you, Professor Burgess. It's now my privilege and honor to introduce our commencement speaker, the Honorable Matthew W. Harvey, United States Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia and 2004 graduate of ASL. I'm going to go off script for just a moment and say, this is incredible. If you don't know this, there are only 90 U.S. attorneys in the country, and ASL to this day has one of those. Isn't that just incredible? So I just want to say thank you today. Matthew Harvey was appointed by President Donald J. Trump on June 30th, 2025, and subsequently was confirmed by the U.S. Senate to serve as the United States Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia. As U.S. Attorney, Mr. Harvey oversees the prosecution of federal crimes, including violent crime, narcotics trafficking, public corruption, financial fraud, and offenses impacting vulnerable populations. He also supervises civil litigation on behalf of the United States, defending federal agencies and advancing the government's legal interests. Mr. Harvey previously served as the prosecuting attorney for Jefferson County, having been elected to 3 terms. And after having served as an assistant prosecutor in both Berkeley and Kanawha counties, he has an extensive career in the justice system. Prior to his time as an elected prosecutor for Jefferson County, he spent 6 years in private practice. From 2021 to 2022, Mr. Harvey served as president of the West Virginia Association of Counties and has been active in many civic organizations, the most rewarding of which came in 2023 when he was appointed by then Governor James Justice to serve on the board of the West Virginia First Foundation. The foundation was created to receive and disperse opioid funds from the state's litigation against drug manufacturers and distributors. Mr. Harvey was selected by the foundation's board to serve as its first chairman, where he has continued to serve until his confirmation by the United States Senate. Our Honorable Matthew Harvey is a graduate of the Bluefield State University and a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and he went on to get his Juris Doctorate from our very own Appalachian School of Law. He's a proud native of Monroe County and currently resides in Shepherdtown. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Matthew W. Harvey to today's celebration.
Dean, faculty, honored guests, proud families, and most importantly, the graduating class. Today is a remarkable day. You've completed one of the most demanding academic journeys there is. And in just a few weeks, you'll face the bar exam, which is the legal profession's way of saying, congratulations, now prove it. Thank you for inviting me back. It's an honor to return to the Appalachian School of Law as an alumnus and share in this day with each and every one of you. And I've been asked several times, what has changed since you've been here, and how long has it been since you've returned here? And it's been 21 years, or as I'm now saying, BW, before Walmart. And see, I had it a little rougher than you guys and gals. And I know that that's I don't say that flippantly, because I'm not surprised that there's a Walmart in Grundy, that they removed a mountain. Appalachians have been moving mountains for centuries, and it's going to continue to do so. So I'm not surprised, but I am certainly impressed. And walking back onto campus yesterday certainly brought back a lot of fond memories. Well, a lot of memories. So, most were fond. I had some stressful memories as well. But I've got good news. You probably have some stressful memories as well. But time has a way of making those stressful memories, you look back with a lot of fondness. Your friends, meeting the shared challenges and overcoming them, creating that bond, that's what I remember the most. You're on your own, but you're never alone. One of those memories, I'll let you decide whether it was stressful or fond here in a minute, was my first day of law school class. We'd barely settled into our seats when Professor Dale Rubin walked in, opened his book, looked around the room, and you know what's coming, the dreaded first call. And he called on someone. That someone was me. First class, first day, first cold call. And the case he called upon for me to explain was Palsgraf versus Long Island Railroad Company. Does that sound familiar? Did you? Okay, good. Now, I'd spent the entire night reading the case and preparing for the possibility that I might get called on. But there's a difference between preparing for something and having it actually happen. So there I was, standing up, trying to explain duty, foreseeability, and exploding packages on a train platform, which to this day remains the most famous fireworks accident in American tort law. And let me just say, it probably was not as bad as I remember it or as I perceived it in the moment. But I was a young, obviously first day of school. And the point of the first call, if they still do that today, and I'm sure they do, is it's to probe to see whether you read the case, clearly. But it's also more than that. It's about setting the tone for the semester, teaching the first person the hard lesson that hopefully everyone else learns, and I hope they did, so I didn't have to go through that for nothing, about off-the-wall questions that don't make sense, but you just have to be prepared. So it felt like I was there the whole class, but it was probably 3 minutes. But I realized that I was standing in front of over 100 extremely intelligent strangers, and I did not think I was one of them. And second, that I suddenly understood much less about Palsgraf than I believed 5 minutes earlier. And if you're wondering about the holding in Palsgraf, don't worry, bar exam will clear that up. But I'll give you a hint. I doubt Helen Palsgraf would have any sort of liability to me 90 years later for the trauma that I was placed under because of her case. That, plus so many other experiences at ASL, has equipped me well for the rigors of the practice of law. In hindsight, it was also the perfect introduction to law school, because law school, much like life, has a way of humbling people. Most of you arrived here spending your academic lives near the top of your class. Then suddenly you were surrounded by people just as smart, just as competitive, and just as sleep-deprived. You learn that the answer to almost every legal question is you learn that a short reading assignment can somehow be 50 pages long. And somewhere along the way, you learn to read a case so carefully that you can now explain a dispute from 1897 involving a railroad and a cow. But beneath the case books and outlines, something much more important happened. You learned how to think like a lawyer. And that skill carries great power. But there's also something special about the place you're graduating from today. The Appalachian School of Law was founded with a simple but powerful mission to prepare lawyers who serve communities that too often go overlooked. Communities where people still believe in hard work, fairness, and neighbors helping neighbors. Communities where the rule of law isn't something just discussed in classrooms. It's something that protects families, businesses, and the future of the region. That mission matters. Because some of the places that need good lawyers the most are not the largest cities or the biggest law firms. They're towns where people know each other, where trust matters. And if you practice in a small Appalachian town long enough, you'll quickly learn something important, that your reputation will travel faster than broadband. And many of you will go on to serve communities just like that. Places that need lawyers who are not only capable, but who care. Your reputation will be your most valuable asset as a lawyer, more valuable than a resume, a title, or even a law degree. Because your reputation will follow you everywhere in this profession. People will know whether you are honest. They will know whether you prepare. They will know whether your word means something. And the truth is, reputation doesn't form all at once. It's built gradually over time in ways that are often small and almost invisible in the moment. While I was a student here at the Appalachian School of Law, our professor, Thomas Blackwell, in his office had a quote that stayed with many of us. Over the years, it's become one of the most important lessons I carry with me. Professor Blackwell is not here, but he passed this along to us, and it's my honor to pass it along to you. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. And watch your character because it becomes your destiny. And I promise you, Dean Western and I did not compare notes on speeches, but you're noticing a similarity of themes. That's not by accident. That's because it's that important. But that quote is not just philosophy. That's the practice of law. Because your reputation is nothing more than the accumulation of those small choices. What you say, how you act, and what you do when no one is watching. And over time, those choices define you. As such, I've realized that a strong professional reputation usually comes down to 3 simple habits. They are not complicated, but they are powerful. First, be on time. It sounds simple, but punctuality sends a message before you ever say a word. Being on time tells a judge you respect the court. Yeah, I got thumbs up. It tells a client you respect their problem. It tells opposing counsel you take the work seriously. And if you practice long enough, you'll learn something important about the legal profession. Reliability is rare. If people know that when you will be somewhere, that when you say you will be somewhere, you will be there, that alone will set you apart. Second, be prepared. Preparation is the quiet superpower of all great lawyers. The lawyers who earn respect in this profession are rarely the loudest people in the room. They're the ones who did the work. They know the facts. They know the law. They know the record better than anyone else in the courtroom. And if your judge knows your case better than you do, you're in trouble. Preparation builds confidence. It builds credibility. But most importantly, it builds trust. Third, I swear I didn't copy this off you, but let service be your North Star. At the end of the day, the law is not really about statutes or case books. It's about people, clients who are scared, families trying to move forward, communities trying to stay safe. People try to understand a system that often feels intimidating. Our work matters because it serves something larger than ourselves: justice, fairness, the rule of law. If you keep service at the center of your work, you will almost always find yourself on the right path. Because the best lawyers don't just build careers, they build trust in the system itself. Before I finish, I want to tell you a quick story about my young daughter, Evelyn, who's 5 years old, 5 and a half, if you ask her. Not only was this a big year for me, but I believe it was a bigger year for her. She completed something very important in her world: Mighty Mites basketball camp for 5 and 6 year olds. Now, if you've ever attended a Mighty Mites basketball camp, let me explain how this works. It's less like organized basketball and more like 10 kids chasing the last crumb like a pack of pigeons, in a pack of pigeons. You have 9 kids sprinting this way after the ball, 1 kid's at half court picking dandelions, and 1 parent quietly wondering out loud if traveling is still illegal. Legal answer is yes, but not enforced. But during one of the games, something happened that stuck with me. A kid knocked the ball out of bounds, kicked the ball loose, and it rolled out of bounds. Immediately, every player in the court started pointing in different directions. Our ball. No, our ball. Every single kid was absolutely convinced they were right. So the referee blew the whistle, walked over calmly, and pointed in one direction. And just like that, the game moved on. No chaos, no argument, no instant replay, just a trusted decision so everyone could keep playing. Watching that moment made me think about the profession you're about to enter. Because in life, just like on that basketball court, people often see the same situation very differently. They believe they're right. They believe the outcome should go their way. And sometimes the only thing that allows society to keep moving forward is a system people trust to decide fairly. That system is the rule of law. And the people who make that system work are lawyers. A few days after that game, Evelyn asked me a question. She said, Dad, what do lawyers actually do? After thinking about it for a moment, I told her simply, lawyers help make sure the rules are fair, and when the rules matter most, they show up. So class of 2026, that's my hope for you. Show up on time, show up prepared, show up with integrity, show up when fairness needs defending. Because when the rules matter most to a person, to a community, or even to a nation, the world depends on lawyers who are willing to step forward. And if you ever feel nervous standing up to make the right call, just remember it's still easier than being the first person called on during your very first law school class. And if you ever forget what your job is supposed to be, just remember the wisdom of Mighty Mites basketball camp. Help keep the game fair, and when the whistle blows, be the kind of lawyer people trust to make the right call. And this profession will be better because of you. Congratulations, class of 2026. Now go take the court.
I can't think of a better place to make those remarks than where we're sitting here today. That's just wonderful. Our very own U.S. Attorney, Matthew Harvey, thank you for your powerful remarks, and thank you for coming and joining us today. At this time, I'd like to introduce one of our co-valedictory speakers, Mackenzie Haley. The Appalachian School of Law student body is enriched by students from many parts of the country, and central to our school's mission is providing educational opportunities to students from our region. I'm very proud to have the opportunity to introduce a graduating student who very much represents what ASL is all about. Our co-valedictory speaker, Mackenzie Haley, graduated from the Virginia Military Institute in 2020 with a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. After graduating, she worked as an associate scientist at PPD, Inc., analyzing blood and bone marrow biopsies for clinical trials. Since 2015, Mackenzie has served in the Virginia National Guard, including a deployment to Djibouti. She's also served, and while she served there, she served as a personnel officer for over 1,000 soldiers. She currently serves as an operations officer for the Virginia Joint Force Headquarters. Not only is she impressive in the military, but she's impressive in law school as well. While in the law school, she interned with the Hanover County Attorney's Office in Henrico County and the Henrico County's Attorney's Office and Apple Red Legal Aid in Kentucky. She's also served as a CASA volunteer, and she's been an editor for the Appalachian Journal of Law and a teaching assistant for Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. After law school, Mackenzie will clerk for the judges of the Henrico County Circuit Court in Virginia, and she intends to pursue a career as a government attorney. In her free time, she enjoys playing board games with friends, watching Survivor, and traveling. At this time, I introduce you to our co-valedictoria, Mackenzie Haley.
Thank you, Dean Western. Good afternoon. Thank you to everyone who has come today to celebrate the graduation of the class of 2026. All of us throughout law school have built relationships with friends and faculty here at the Appalachian School of Law and in the larger community that has helped shape who we are today. I'm sure we can all agree that we're not the same people who entered law school in August of 2023, having no clue what the three elements of battery were, what a reverse 403 balancing test was, or that when trying to remember when a motion to dismiss for lack of subject matter jurisdiction could be made, that we should not think, but just feel. Albert Einstein is quoted as saying, "Learn from yesterday, live for tomorrow, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning." Throughout our time in law school, we've all learned exactly how to embrace this piece of wisdom from Albert Einstein. We've made mistakes, learned how to recognize those mistakes in order to improve as future attorneys. We each have also learned to live for today as we've enjoyed time with friends despite a looming deadline of an assignment or test. We have also, above all else, learned how to question. Question a future client on their problem, or question an unconstitutional law or improper interpretation of the law. These skills we have grown are exactly what will make each of us a successful attorney. May all of us learn from our mistakes, live for today, and hope for tomorrow as we leave ASL. However, our growth from our time at ASL is not just because of the fact that we now know that battery requires the showing of an act, intent, and a consequence, or that under a reverse 403 balancing test, there's a presumption against admissibility, but it's from all the good, the bad, and the struggles we've all gone through to get to this point, all with the loving support from our family, friends, and faculty. To ASL, which provided the opportunity for us not to only become attorneys, but to have all sorts of new experiences, meet people we never would have otherwise, and to learn things about ourselves in no other way possible, thank you. To the faculty who spent countless hours repeating key concepts till we all actually knew them well enough to reference them in a graduation speech and have every classmate here hear them directly in your voice, thank you. To all of my family who made the very long journey to here to Grundy today, thank you. I could not have made it this far without your support. Congratulations to the class of 2026.
I keep trying to convince Mackenzie that she needs to join the JAG Corps. I'm making headways. She'd be a terrific JAG. Our co-valedictoria, the second, is Ms. Sana Fada. She graduated from the Old Dominion University. Please. She graduated in 2023 with a Bachelor of Science summa cum laude in psychology and a minor in criminal justice. Ms. Fada is Yemeni American and a native of Hampton, Virginia. While in law school, she interned with the Hampton City Attorney's Office for the summer of 2024 and interned with the Baylor y Quinto Law in summer of 2025 and accepted a summer job with the same firm for the summer of 2026, where she will use her Virginia practice certificate. Ms. Fada is on the Appalachian Journal of Law and its publication editor. She's also a member of the Honors Program, a teaching assistant for torts, and she's been in that position since 2025. She is a 2025 inter-school moot court competition finalist and has been on the Dean's List since spring of 2024. In 2026, she was a competitor with the Child Welfare Law Moot Court Competition. She's also a member of Phi Delta Phi, Phi Delta, and the vice president of the Appalachian International Law Society. She's also a member of the Appalachian Women in the Law Society as well. I knew Ms. Fada was going to be a top student from the moment that I met her, even before she started school. And so I made a promise to her that I'm going to do at this moment. And if I could look at her family here very moment, and I ask for you to give me some grace. Mabruk. Wa mashallah. يجب أن تفخروا بسنة كثيرا. وهي إنها راية. وفي رأيك هي الأصم تلميذ في كل الكلية الحقوق. وأنا مبسوط جدا. أنا مبسوط جدا هي هنا والآن سوف يتكلم مع كلنا وأنا هذا فرصة سعيدة. شكرا جزيلا. سنة تفضل.
Wow, I think Dean Western speaks better Arabic than I do. I'd like to start with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Good afternoon, class of 2026, distinguished professors, dedicated staff members, and the family and friends who have supported us through every challenge, every late night, every coffee pot, and every decision in days that we decided that we could possibly drop out. And unfortunately for me, that was every other day. So thank you for being here today. Today is a profound honor for me to stand before you, because this day is a day we have worked towards with determination, resilience, and heart. And I speak that not just on my behalf, but on the whole class of 2026. Today is the day our feet remain on the ground, but our spirits fly high in the skies of achievement. It is not easy, it was not easy, and it's not going to be easy, but we did it. So thank you all for being here to commemorate this incredible milestone with us. We appreciate your presence. I would like to begin with a verse that has guided me throughout my journey here in law school. Inna ma'al usri yusra, meaning with hardship comes ease. And I heard it often growing up, but I really did not know the depth of its meaning until I got to law school. Because law school is a place where hardship didn't simply exist. Rather, it became a constant companion, even more than my own best friend. These 3 years have been the most demanding years of my life. I struggled, I stressed, I broke down, and yes, I cried. Even more times than I can mathematically calculate. And I passed college math, so trust me, I tried. So, yet, these years were also the most transformative years of my life. In these Appalachian mountains, I discovered strength I didn't know I possessed. One that helped me rise from ashes like a phoenix, determined to persevere, no matter how heavy the burden is. And I owe that first to God, alhamdulillah, and then to my family, who have supported me emotionally, spiritually, and most importantly, to a broke law student, financially. Thank you all, and a special shout out to my mother, my sister Rana, and my godmother Suzanne. Thank you so much. I am also deeply grateful to my professors, those sitting in the back and those sitting here. And I would like to say thank you so much for being the biggest support there is and for being the family that we needed here in Grundy. And I am also deeply grateful to the mentors that I have developed throughout these years and the ASL staff members. Thank you for listening to my daily concerns. And now, Sandy, you can nod your head. It's okay. Members who encouraged me when I doubted myself and even pushed me towards the potential they saw long before I did. Thank you all. And to Grundy, I say, thank you for giving me something the city could never have. True friendship, genuine love, and a family I will carry with me for eternity. Thank you, Grundy. And to give you a glimpse of the ease that eventually at some point followed the hardship of law school, I will share a special moment with you, a moment I will never forget, not only because it was amazing, but because it was traumatizing. And I'm sure every student here could relate to a similar story. Walking out of my first final exam, civil procedure, I was so overwhelmed I couldn't speak. It was like I had just seen a ghost, and a ghost other than the ghost in Dean Wilson's final exams. As I walked out, my mom called to ask how it went, and I was like, well, Mom, I think I just failed. But of course, I didn't just say that, I cried. I cried, and my mom's best solution was to simply cry with me. It helped in the meantime. And then after we finished crying, after we collected ourselves 6 tissue boxes later, she told me something that stayed with me. No matter what happens, you did your best, and that is always enough. Those words carried me through every challenge that followed until my time right now as I stand before you. And today, as I stand before you, I can attest to their truth, not because of a rank or a GPA, but simply because I know I gave everything I had to this journey, and I am at peace with where I stand. And class of 2026, you should be pleased with where you stand as well, because numbers do not define us, effort does. And every person in this room knows how hard you each worked to reach this moment. The road was bumpy, but unforgettable. And now we stand in the light at the end of the tunnel. And before you ask Mr. Roberto Mejia, it's not that light, it's a different light. My dear classmates and future colleagues, I am incredibly proud of you, proud of your courage, your brilliance, and your ability to persevere even when the path felt impossible. I wish you success on the bar in every endeavor, and I hope our paths cross again, but preferably not behind bars, just saying. As we step into the world as attorneys, advocates, and leaders, remember this: justice is not found solely in written law, because the law can and does change. Justice is found where humanity lies, and each of you carries that humanity within. So be the reason justice prevails. Congratulations, class of 2026. We just did it.
Thank you. It's now my pleasure to call upon Laura Wilson, the Chief Academic Officer of the Appalachian School of Law. She will read the names of the class of 2026 and present the graduates for hooding by Professor Don Figueres, an Associate Professor and 3L Professor of the Year for 2026. Professor Figueres was selected by the 2026 class as their Professor of the Year. Some of our students will be hooded by family members who are also lawyers and hold the Juris Doctorate degree. At this time, I turn it over to Dean Wilson.
Thank you, Dean Western. I'll ask the first row of our graduates to stand at this time, and I will call your name individually. Elena Shea Amy. Kaylee Linda Clark. Catherine Clemico Benitez. Carla Cook. Curtis Howard Darnell III. Angela Diaz. Elena Easterling Epps. Ms. Epps is being hooded by her father, Greg Boomer Easterling, a graduate of the Appalachian School of Law. Sana Nasser Fadah. Gregory Troy Gask II. Glenn Green III. Mackenzie Eva Rose Haley. Miss Haley is being hooded by her mother, Sandra Bullington, a graduate of the University of Maryland School of Law. James Riley Harkleroad IV. Nicandro A. Ianacone III. Indira Hamid Kabai. Carol Lynn Mullins King. Dr. Keene is being hooded by her brother, Tom Mullins, a graduate of the George Mason School of Law. Kanan Key. Mr. Key is being hooded by his brother, Jackson Key, a graduate of the William and Mary Law School. Julia Merriweather Lagrone. Abigail Walker Lawrence. Alana Lawson. Julia Marie Lockcon. Roberto Jose Mejia. Benjamin J. Meyerson. Mr. Meyerson is being hooded by his father, the Honorable Michael Meyerson, a graduate of St. John's University School of Law. Christel Mushigasha. Lindsay Catherine Music. Bryce William McClellan Pearson. Mr. Pearson is being hooded by his brother, Bradley Pearson, a graduate of Lincoln Memorial University Duncan School of Law. Joseph Lewis Pullen, Jr. Joshua David Ramsey. Grayson Thomas Rockwell. Akrista Rubicetti. Laura Christine Shine. Christopher Thomas Sharp II. Adrian Ray Smith. Arnando Ali Smith. Cameron Joseph Stamper. Cole Braden Stiltner. Cody Neal Tackett. Haley Ann Thomas. Joseph Hunter Troll. Ayana Vinay. Brooklyn Grace Whitaker. Jacob Nicholas Wilkerson. Renika Williams. Olivia Ann Woosley. Dean Western, these candidates have completed the requirements for the degree of Juris Doctor. Upon the recommendation and approval of the faculty, I present them to you for the conferral of that degree.
If I could have all the students stand up again just one more time. Good. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees and with the approval of the faculty, I confer upon you, each of you, the degree of Juris Doctor upon the completion of the requirements, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto. You may now move your tassels. Thank you. Congratulations. You may be seated, and now that you have graduated, you are alumni. I'm now pleased at this time to introduce to the podium Mr. Matthew Felty, who will issue the Alumni Challenge to the class of 2026. Matthew Felty is the current ASL Alumni Association president. He graduated from New Mexico State University with a BS in Business Administration in 2001, and he graduated from the Appalachian School of Law in 2007, magna cum laude. While attending law school, Matthew was a participant in moot court and law review, and he was the managing editor of the Notes and Comments section. Matthew was also the vice president of the Criminal Law Society, and he also worked as a research assistant to Professor Priscilla Harris. Taking full advantage of the school's externship program, the summer after his 1L year, Matthew did 2 externships, first with the Public Defender's Office in Columbia, South Carolina, and then with the Honorable Justice Cynthia Kinzer, who later became the first Chief Justice of the female Chief Justice of the Virginia Supreme Court. After graduating from law school, Matthew spent the next 2 years as a law clerk to Chief Justice Kinzer, and then he served as an assistant Commonwealth's attorney in Washington County, Virginia, until entering private practice in January of 2012, joining Snodgrass Law Firm in Abingdon, Virginia. Matthew opened the Felty Law Firm in June of 2023, where he primarily practices criminal defense in Abingdon and the surrounding areas. Mr. Felty, thank you.
Thank you, Dean. It's a beautiful day. It's an honor to be with you all on this special day. I was here 19 years ago. I'm also a, BW graduate before Walmart. It's been 19 years. It's been a long time, but it's good to see everybody. I want to encourage you all, when you join the Alumni Association, as you all are now the newest alumni, to give back to the law school that's given so much to you over these past 3 years. This law school is important to this community. You give to this law school, you also give back to this community, and I know my 3 years in Grundy were unforgettable, and the community support, the faculty support, and the lessons I learned were invaluable. So please plan on giving back as an alumni. I'm tasked today with issuing to you all the Alumni Challenge. That wasn't it. But before I get to that, a little bit of extra work. It has been a tradition of this Alumni Association to present the valedictorian with a $500 stipend to be used for purposes of bar study and bar prep. This year we have 2 valedictorians. So Alumni Association went ahead and ponied up the extra $500. So I have 2 checks. If Miss Mackenzie Haley and Miss Sana Fada would come back to the stage to accept those. May these be the first of many hard-earned fees for you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, congratulations. Now for the challenge. As I was thinking of, what I was going to say to a group of budding attorneys, I came up with 3 things that have been helpful in my practice. So here's my challenge. Be communicative, be present, and be kind. The first I've always prioritized, and it has served me well in my career. I've been focusing on the second and the third here over the last year, and it's already paying dividends. So I encourage you to listen closely. Communication is key in the practice of law. We have to have effective communication with all the players in the legal system, judges, clerks, fellow attorneys. But what I'm talking about today is communication with your clients. It was in professional responsibility in my 1L year that I believe that I heard the #1 bar complaint in Virginia, and probably in every other state, is failure to communicate with your client. I've prioritized this over the years over everything else, with diligence being a close second. And I find that if you prioritize communication with your clients, diligence follows naturally. You can only call your clients so many times with a non-update update. So if you prioritize the communication, you're going to want to advance the case and have updates to give to your client. Whether those are positive or negative updates, you have to make that call. Send the letter, document the file. And for those of you that are hearing this today and don't heed this advice, I will thank you in advance for the business. I get more retained cases in my line of work because people calling saying my attorney will not call me back. Number 2, be present. When I talk about present, I'm talking about being mindful. And the working definition of mindfulness was developed by John Kabat-Zinn in, I believe, 1979, and is as follows. It is the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. When we meet with our clients in this manner and actively listen to them, you will be amazed at how easy the work of representing your clients becomes, even in the most difficult of matters. So how do we develop and cultivate mindfulness? The only way that I'm aware of is through mindfulness meditation practices. And I know what you're thinking. You have to be a Buddhist or a hippie to meditate. Now, those things might be helpful, but they're not necessary. Anybody can meditate, and there's a number of methods out there I encourage you to explore. My challenge is to find some form of mindfulness meditation practice. Try it for 6 weeks. You will see and feel results, I can promise you. Like I said, I've only been doing the meditating for about a year now. It's already changed my life. It's obviously not completely eliminated my anxiety. I'm used to speaking in a courtroom. This is a whole different ball game. Hits a little different here. So my anxiety is right about here right now. But it's changed my relationship with that anxiety so that I no longer suffer from it. I accept it, I surrender to it, and I move on. I know that the moment will pass, and it's given me the space that I need to be a better person and a better attorney. And when you have that increased presence, the ability to respond calmly to a difficult situation or person, rather than reacting in anger or annoyance, will increase. And with that ability, the third call to action becomes much simpler, and that is, be kind. Kindness begins with the understanding that we all struggle. Remember that every day. But I'm asking you to be kind in the practice of law. This may seem like nonsense to some of you, or like a complete oxymoron. And I get that. You're joining a profession that is rife with stressful situations, difficult personalities, and ugly subject matter that is full of tragedy and heartbreak. All of this on top of a relentless workload, and then you have to deal with people who are just jerks for the sake of being jerks. How do you respond with kindness to somebody who is foaming at the mouth, yelling at you that your legal position is not only incorrect, but dead wrong? This is hard. Not many of us are very good at this, myself included. But if you choose to respond with calm kindness, one of two things will happen. First, the difficult person will relent and perhaps show you uncharacteristic kindness, which could lead to a positive result for your client. The second thing that could happen is that the difficult person will be so unhinged at their inability to ruffle your feathers that they will just start flat out molting. And when they enter the courtroom in that frame of mind, they're probably going to do something that hurts their position. So either way, you win. So if you take the other approach, which we often refer to as the scorched earth approach, your reputation will suffer, your practice will suffer, and your personal life will suffer. You will suffer, and so will everyone else around you. Believe it or not, there is room for happiness in the practice of law. I encourage you to work to find it. Actually, I challenge you to go out and create it. Class of 26, congratulations. I do have one final task. It is absolutely my honor and pleasure to turn the stage over to Pennsylvania State Representative and Appalachian School of Law graduate of class of 2007, Natalie Mihalik. She is not in your program, but she is number one in our hearts. She is this year's recipient of the 2026 Appalachian School of Law Distinguished Alumni of the Year Award, and it is my honor to present this plaque to one of the kindest people that I've ever known.
I didn't know if I was supposed to pose for a photo or make some remarks. But thank you so much. It is such an honor to be back here in Grundy and to be recognized for the work that I've done since I was last in the cap and gown in your shoes, and to make it even more special to be presented with the award from my friend Matt Felty. Thank you so much. It really, truly is an honor. So I had a very different first day than Matt Harvey did, and by chance, it was me roaming to the back row in the main lecture hall and taking a seat next to Matt, and I got to know him over 3 years, because once you pick your seat, you are locked in all 3 years. So we sat next to each other, got to know each other very well, and it is just great to see you after all these years. It's been 19 years since we were in your shoes before Walmart, and we were sitting there anxious to start bar study classes that probably start in a few days, wondering what comes next. Am I going to pass the bar? Am I really going to do this? And I think that coming in my 1L year, I was probably a lot more certain about things than when I was in your shoes as a graduate. And what I've learned over the years is that it is okay to not have everything figured out. It's okay to not know what comes next. And it's okay to take chances, because not everyone does. I grew up in suburban Pittsburgh, in a town that wasn't doing so hot after the collapse of the steel industry, and my solution to escape was to take a chance and enlist in the United States Navy. And I really fell for their marketing campaign at the time. It was Join the Navy, See the World. I highly recommend they bring that back. I had a lot of people that thought that I shouldn't go, but it was a chance that I wanted to take, and I thought I could have a shot at being something if I do this. And I've served in the nuclear power division and grew up pretty quickly in the Navy. When you're operating a nuclear power plant at the age of 19, it really matures you fast. When the enlistment was up, I decided I would get out of the Navy and go to college. And I can still remember my mother cross-examining me. And she's not an attorney, so it was a different kind of cross-examination. Cross-examining me about my future. And in trying to convince her that I got it all figured out, Mom, I know what I'm doing, I half convinced myself that I did, which of course I did not. Changed majors several times, ended up in the political science program, and I have a feeling there are a few of you out there when at the end of your college career with that political science degree, you're thinking, what am I going to do next? And everyone knows that you clearly don't have things figured out. So I took a chance and I signed up for the LSATs. At that point in my life, I had never even met another attorney. But I thought, this is something that I'm gonna do, and my then boyfriend, now husband, was working in this region at the time, and I found ASL, and next thing I knew, I was in Grundy, in your shoes, as a 1L. When I got here, I thought, I'm gonna be a corporate attorney. I'm gonna do deals, I'm gonna be a partner, I'm gonna make big money. And then I ended up in Professor Stuart Harris's con law class, and Professor Judy Barger's criminal law class, and I was immediately hooked. That was where I wanted to be, upholding the Constitution, watching due process play out in the courts. That excited me. And I just wanted to be like Professor Barger. I wanted to be a public defender. So I took the bar, and I know you're in the midst of it right now, and I'm gonna gloss over the bar exam, get through it, get it done. It won't be a blip on your radar after 19 years, I promise you that. The public defender's office had no open positions, so I took a chance and I called the district attorney's office, and I got hired there in the Allegheny County District Attorney's Office, and almost immediately I was trying cases. And the first time I stood up in a courtroom and I looked at the jury and I said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Natalie Mahalik, and I represent the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in this matter. That made every late night, every crappy exam, every outline, that made it all worthwhile, because it truly was an honor to be able to do that. And I spent about 10 years practicing criminal law, all thanks to my experience here at ASL. And I was very politically active, and I think I was probably politically active during my law school days too. I served on the student senate, and I thought, I had experience in campaigning. We made the homemade signs and put them up in the hallways on the day of the election. And of course, my elections are a little more expensive and involved these days, but I am currently serving in my 4th term in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. We are the longest continuous running legislative body in the nation. We actually pre-existed the founding of the United States 250 years ago, and bragging rights because we had Ben Franklin as a member of the Pennsylvania House and Speaker. So I was able to take what I learned in not only here, but in my practice in criminal court, and it drives a lot of my legislative priorities, making sure that victims are taken care of, increasing penalties for certain offenses, fixing things in the crimes code that if some of you out there practice law, you'll be in court one day looking at the crimes code and go, who wrote this? And now I get a chance to fix that. And it has been the honor of my lifetime to serve the community in the legislature. And I wouldn't be there if I hadn't been willing to take some chances on myself. So looking out at all of you, I can't help but wonder how many of you are sitting there uncertain about what comes next, about what happens when this chapter closes today. And it is okay. Embrace that uncertainty, even in those moments where it is most uncomfortable. Take the chances that no one else is willing to. The knowledge and skills that you gained here from these professors is going to carry you through, and your journey will unfold in ways that you could not have imagined if you allow it. And I'll just leave you with a quote. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So again, thank you so much. Congratulations, class of 2026, to the staff, the faculty, and a special thank you to Matt Felty. I'm really honored to be your Alumni of the Year. Thank you.
Well, I'm excited to introduce our next two and final two speakers. Mr. Joseph Poland was my TA for criminal law, and he was also this year's SBA president. Joe, if I could have you start coming to the stage. He is the outgoing president of the SBA, and he'll give some final remarks, after which we have the honor of hearing from our Honorable Chief Justice of the Virginia Supreme Court, Cleo Powell. And so, Joe, if you could give us a few remarks as outgoing SBA president. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My eyes are not the same as they were 3 years ago after 3 long years of reading. So if you all bear with me, we will get through. Faculty, family, friends, and most importantly, the graduates, my fellow graduates, the class of 2026. Standing here today as SBA president, I've had the privilege of witnessing not just how hard this class has worked, but who we have become. We came to law school searching for something, purpose, direction, maybe even certainty. And somewhere along the way, many of us found something more. We all found each other. People who may never have crossed paths otherwise, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different perspectives, all brought together in a small mountain town. And over the last 3 years, we've done something more. We've grown, we've adapted, we've challenged one another. We've learned not just to argue, but to listen, to understand. And in doing so, we've lived out a lesson that many of us have probably heard before when we were a child. You think the only people who are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk in the footsteps of a stranger, you learn things you never knew you never knew. Law school has given us this opportunity. Every case, every class, every late night debate has asked us to step into someone else's world, to see the world through a different lens. And if we've done it right, we leave here more knowledgeable, but with more compassion. But how we arrived here, who we become, was never determined by us alone, in ourselves. For me, that foundation was built by strong, steady, and deeply impactful women. I cannot stand here without acknowledging my mother and my grandmother. Their strength wasn't loud, but it was unwavering. They didn't simply support me. They gave me something even greater. They gave me the freedom to become, the space to grow, to question, to fall, and to find my own way. Everything I achieve carries their imprint. And as one of my greatest legal role models, I've had the honor of learning from Chief Justice Cleo Powell. Chief Justice Powell serves as our diversity advisor here at the Appalachian School of Law. And she is the first African-American woman to serve on Virginia's highest court, now leading it as the Chief Justice. But what makes her impact so powerful is not just where she sits, it's how she serves. From a small community in Brunswick County to observing the late civil rights attorney Sam Tucker, to building a career rooted in public service at every level of the judiciary, she has shown what it means to use the law not just as a profession, but as a purpose. I was fortunate to meet Chief Justice Powell as a teenager through the Oliver Hill Sam Tucker Pre-Law Institute. She welcomed us into the Supreme Court of Virginia. She spoke with us and encouraged us to think deeply about our futures. She gave us a glimpse of what this path could look like, and for me, that has made all the difference. Her words have stayed with me ever since, especially one lesson she shared with all of us in the very beginning of this journey. We don't go around the fire, we go through it. And that is one thing that I can say defines the class of 2026. It is that we have truly been through the fire. Through the long nights, through uncertainty, through moments of doubt, through challenges that tested not just our intellect, but our resilience. And sometimes, in the middle of all of that, you find something unexpected, someone who reminds you who you are when things feel uncertain, someone who stands beside you, steady, proud, and makes even the hardest moments feel lighter. For that person, I am deeply grateful. We did not go around the fire. We went through it. And we did not come out the same. We came out stronger, wiser, more grounded, and ready. So, as we leave this place and step into courtrooms, offices, and communities, we carry more than just a degree. We carry responsibility. The responsibility to advocate, to protect, and to serve. Chief Justice Powell once said, "We can all be trailblazers, that in a million ways we can make the path easier, more illuminated, and less treacherous for those who come after us." So, my charge to you, class of 2026, is quite simple. Be the trailblazer. Not just in the cases you win, but in the people you become. Because the law is not just about being right. It is about doing right. It is about empathy. It is about courage. And it's about never losing sight of the humanity behind every case, every client, and every single decision that we make. We leave here today, not just as graduates, but as stewards of something greater than ourselves. And when the path ahead becomes difficult, as it inevitably will, remember, guys, we're attorneys. We don't go around the fire, we go through it. Thank you.
Well, I'm highly honored to have with us today the Chief Justice of the Virginia Supreme Court, Cleo Powell. And this is a special speech. I really want to underline and highlight this. We started this several years ago, and what it is when our students started law school, they took a professionalism oath. And that oath was given by someone who was very important and very knew the importance of being an attorney and keeping that professionalism. And the very oath that you students took was given by our very own Chief Justice Cleo Powell. And so what a fitting way that one of the very first things that you heard as law students, you'll now get to hear the final word from the very person that gave you that oath. Justice Cleo Powell is the Chief Justice of the Virginia Supreme Court. She's the first African-American woman to serve as the Chief Justice in the court's history. She was first elected by the General Assembly to the Supreme Court in Virginia of 2011 and re-elected in 2023. Prior to her service on the Supreme Court, she served as a judge of the Court of Appeals of Virginia, the 12th Judicial Circuit, and the Chesterfield General District Court. She earned her undergraduate degree with distinction from the University of Virginia and her Juris Doctorate from the University of Virginia School of Law. Before joining the bench, she practiced labor and employment law, served as a corporate counsel and director of employment services for an energy company, and worked as a senior assistant attorney general in the Office of the Attorney General of Virginia. Chief Justice Powell currently chairs the Judicial Performance Evaluation Committee and serves on the Executive Committee of the Judicial Conference of Virginia. Her prior service includes Model Jury Instructions Committee, the Judicial Inquiry and Review Commission, and the Ad Hoc Committee for the Study of Canons of Judicial Conduct. She's been recognized with numerous professional and civic honors, including the Virginia State Bar's Young Lawyers Conference Jurist of the Year Award, the YMCA of Greater Richmond's Martin Luther King Jr. Service Award for Legacy, and the Virginia State Bar's Clarence M. Dunnaville Jr. Achievement Award. In addition to her judicial responsibilities, Chief Justice Powell contributes to legal education as a faculty member on New York University's Institute of Judicial Administration's Appellate Judges Seminar and serves as our Distinguished Visiting Professor of Law and the L. Anthony Sutton Endowed Lecturer at the Appalachian School of Law. The Honorable Justice Cleo Powell.
Thank you, Dean Weston. Joseph, thank you for those words. You were listening and you remembered. Thank you. To the graduates of 2026, you made it. Congratulations. I'm not going to keep you long because I hope, like Joseph, I hope that when I spoke with you 3 years ago that you remembered and that you wrapped it into who you are and what you did. And so I'm just going to give you a couple of reminders of our conversation then. So today marks the beginning, and I hope it will be for you a bright beginning and a long and successful career. You may recall that at orientation, I joined you to administer your professionalism oath. And I told you then 3 prophetic truths. The first, that you were ready for the journey. The second, that you had all of the tools that you needed to be successful. And the third, that one day each of you would be an amazing attorney. 1 and 2 have clearly come true. Today, I want to focus on 3. At that time when I spoke to you with your professionalism oath, and I administered your lawyer in training professionalism oath, today I return to remind you of that oath and to warn you that you will only attain number 3 if you live that oath. Today, I remind you that a successful attorney, you will owe a duty of professionalism to many people: your client, opposing counsel, the bench, and the communities in which you will serve. And I believe that you can satisfy your responsibilities to all of these people by honoring your duty of professionalism, but by honoring it to yourself. Let me remind you that professionalism is the goal. While we will expect each of you to satisfy the canons of professional responsibility, I tell you now, as I told you then, that is the floor of what we expect of you. It is the minimum amount of professionalism that we expect you to honor in order to keep your bar license. But as a graduate of this law school, we expect a level of professionalism that requires a commitment to excellence. Professionalism is a lofty aspiration with a focus on what makes us proud to be attorneys and counselors at law. Professionalism is not simply asking you to comply with the rules, but to aspire to approach your work with discipline, care, integrity, and a genuine respect for others. In short, professionalism requires you to aspire to seek excellence. I remind you that practicing law is a privilege, and it is a privilege grounded in trust. Trust that is earned and maintained by the care and competence with which you provide your service. And with that trust is an obligation to pursue excellence in all that you do. That means striving to be prepared. It means being honest about what you know and what you do not yet know. It means working diligently to find the answer. It means learning from your experiences, including your mistakes, and continually working to grow in both skill and judgment. You are becoming a part of a profession that serves as the guardians of the rule of law. And the rule of law is not an abstract concept. It is something people experience in very real ways. It is reflected in how they are treated, whether they are heard, and whether they believe that this system that we call justice is fair. Your conduct matters. The way you treat one another matters. It is your duty to maintain the high esteem in which lawyers are held. And there are several ways that you can do this, but one important way, perhaps the most important way, is by being civil. When you act with courtesy, respect, and integrity, you strengthen not only your own reputation, but public confidence in our entire judicial system. Beyond being leaders in your profession, you carry a broader responsibility as leaders in your communities. I encourage you to embrace opportunities to serve, to be the true servant of the law that you have learned to be here at this institution, to expand access to justice, and to use your legal training to promote the public welfare by making a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Do what you can to improve access to justice. The impact that you will have will be greater than you will ever know. As you prepare to leave these hallowed halls and go out into the world, I leave you with this. The last act before you begin to practice will be to take an oath. And in taking that oath, you will promise to faithfully, honestly, professionally, and courteously demean yourself in the practice of law. I urge you to do just that. Best wishes to each of you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Justice Powell. We really appreciate your remarks, and just like she said, go and make an impact, class of 2026. This program will conclude with the benediction offered by Pastor Jody Breeding. Immediately following the benediction, the recessional will begin, and we as the platform party will begin, and we will lead out the procession as we go around. And then the faculty will join us, and at last, after the faculty have joined us, then the students will join us as well. And we will, as the faculty and administration, be lined up on that side of the auditorium. And we encourage you all to come by and shake our hands as equals in this profession that you're now entering into. You are now entering into our professional, and because you're now our peers, we'd like to shake your hand and congratulate you. So, I'd also like to remind you that we have a reception at the Appalachian School of Law after this program concludes, and I'd like to make sure that I invite you all to come join us. So we look forward to seeing you there. Without further ado, I now ask Pastor Jody Breeding to deliver our benediction.
May we pray. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for the wisdom, the dedication, and perseverance that have brought these graduates to this milestone. As they leave the seminary, ceremony to begin their careers, we ask you to grant them three things. Grant them wisdom to seek truth and fairness. Give them courage to advocate boldly for the voiceless. Give them grounded in ethics, compassion, and integrity. May their work always be a powerful force for good, justice, and positive change in the world. Bless them, their families, and all those who have supported them on this journey. In your holy name we pray. Amen.